I would now like to invite Nadine Spencer to our virtual stage. Nadine is a graduate of our Department of Politics here at York University. She serves on several boards, including York University's Alumni Board and our Board of Governors. Nadine's CV is so long, so impressive, that we had to do an abbreviated version for this evening. She was appointed as the CEO of the Black Business and Professional Association, BBPA. Many of us know it in the community, a very important and vibrant organization. And she came into this position in 2021. She's an accomplished businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and a community leader. Nadine is currently on secondment from her role as CEO at Brand EQ, a global agency specializing in social change marketing, communications, and public relations in order to lead the BBPA. Nadine Spencer is a dedicated Black community champion. She has dedicated her life to fighting discrimination, battling poverty, advancing women's education, and advocating for equality for women and girls of color. I now welcome Nadine Spencer.
Thank you, Michelle. It's really great to be here. Really, really, really wonderful to be here. I thank you. I thank the staff at York University for having this program. This program is such an important one. It's one that I wish when I was at York, there was something like this. And as I go through my various career paths, I see the importance of programs like this because mentorship has had such an incredible impact on my career journey in my life that this platform is incredible. So thank you.
And thank you again for joining us. So just to give our students and our other mentors a sense of what we're in for, we have a few questions. We'll just talk to Nadine for about 15 minutes, and then we'll go off to the next part of our program. So Nadine, tell us a little bit about your time at York. What was your program? We know it was politics, but tell us about it. Did you have any favorite professors, any courses, any hangout spots at York that you'd like to reminisce about?
I did. You know, my time at York University is just incredible. I think all the times about going through Very Hall and, walking from the bus stop up to my classes. And, there's a few profound moments in my York University experience. One is, I never went to where the students had, the cafeteria or the spots where the food court. I went to the faculty lounge. I took myself, right, with my bold self, and I couldn't really afford the meals, but I would save and I would use that. But sitting there, I thought to myself as I looked around, I want to be a part of this. I want to be part of what this means. Seeing the professors there, and there were no students there except for me. So, what happened when I went into this space, I had to look the part. So I didn't, I sort of, dressed a little better. And I would sit there and I would study and I would be so inspired. And I still think of that moment because now when I go into spaces, I think about sitting there in that faculty lounge and imagining what a future would be as I sit into spaces that maybe isn't traditionally where I should be, but, opening that door and walking in, being afraid and doing it anyway. So that is one of the profound experiences and memories at York University. And then also one professor in particular, Bob Davis, I remembered I did a course on writing and society, and it was really a creative writing advanced course. And he said to me, Nadine, you're a good writer and you should write. You should continue to write and send letters to the editor. And it's really quite profound because, I had an article published just on the eve of the election in the Toronto Star, and I've had a few op-eds published. But it's because of his advice to me, recognizing my talent and saying to me, when you write letters to the editor, they will not always be published or taken in, but it gives you the opportunity to continue to practice your craft and refining your message until you will be published. So those are two of the, there's many, but those are two of the profound ones that I remember.
Oh, thanks for that, Nadine. So you were bold from the beginning. You were bold. Okay. Could you tell us about some of the the student activities? Were there any student activities with which you were involved, or was your life in wider community? The highlights, a couple of the highlights.
Yeah, in wider community, the one student thing that I did really was to sort of go to the creative writing workshops, which was incredible. There were these workshops that when you write a paper that, someone would go over it and help you with it. And it's interesting because it was there that I learned how to write contracts that I do now. So as you know, I own a creative marketing communications agency. And whenever we submit a proposal, I always think about the elements of writing that I learned in those workshops. You have your thesis statement, you have your 3 points, you have your counter argument, and then you conclude. And we approach our proposals like that. And whenever we do a proposal, most of the times we get them, because as a marketing company, when we think about, satisfying the client with the deliverables and things that they need to reach their audience, we have the points that they need, and then we have the other side, and then we conclude. And so I still attribute that to a win for us in the agency. And so that's one area. And then, I think there's many things that I'm very proud of, but most recently I was part of a group that worked with the Black Entrepreneurship Program, and we were part of the $300 million loan fund for the Black community. And one of the things that we do with that program, it's not just about the loans that we enable for Black organizations through FACE, the Federation of African Canadian Economics, but we also work on programs. So capital skills, how do we look at borrowing? How do we look at financial literacy? How do we look at the nuances for Black entrepreneurs in certain spaces that we do not know? So it's that ongoing training, and that is the area that I'm most proud of.
Yeah, this is amazing, fantastic. Between the success in your company and your leadership of the BBPA, which over the last few years has become such an impactful organization in the Black community, giving scholarships to many of our students. This is amazing. Thank you so much. So let's press on to why we're here. Let's talk about networking. Let's talk about mentoring. What role did those play in your professional life?
A lot. In grade 8, I took a class. It was my first co-op class in Don Mills Collegiate Institute. And this woman shows up. Okay, so I was a kid from Flemington Park, all right? Living in, back then they called it Ontario Housing. Now they call it Toronto Community Housing. New immigrant to Canada. And I saw this woman, she shows up in my co-op class and she looks fabulous. She's wearing a fur coat, she's well-spoken, she's an entrepreneur, and she's talking about how she's bossing it. And then she stops and she says, and you too can have this. And she looks at me and I thought, yes, how too can I have this? And she said, you have to be educated. You have to have an education, because education opens doors. And you also have to have individuals that will champion you as well. And so I took that advice, and a lot of the advice that I've had, especially as that little girl coming up in Flemington Park, I needed to have individuals with me who have gone a path that I haven't gone. And I think one of the important things about mentorship and what has attracted me to this program and what has enabled my success in life or just my advancement is relying on someone else's experience to guide me. Yes. For all the things that I didn't have, that I wasn't privy to. Someone else has showed me the way. And that's a big reason why I'm really thrilled to be a part of this program, is to be able to open those doors of opportunities for individuals in this program, for the mentees.
Thank you. And if you were to give some advice to our mentees today, how do you think these students, our precious LA&PS students, can make the most of the opportunity of the Advancing You program?
3 things. Number 1, as my mother always said to me, Nadine, when you go to university, you get that piece of paper. Number 1 is get that piece of paper, because I've seen over and over again, especially as Black leaders and a Black woman, that paper is important for many doors, and we don't want any doors closed to us. So that's 1. Two is to show up. You know, so many times different opportunities arise and we don't show up.
Mhm.
And there's a whole conversation that happens. Like for me, it's always been, oh, I don't have the right this, I don't have the right that. And I've met many Black women in different spaces and they say, you know, Nadine, I don't think I look the part. I don't have, you know, the skills. But you know what? Show up, because the only way you're going to know what's required to be in that space is by showing up. And what's missing when you leave that space, you will then work towards that. But showing up is a big, big part of it. Then once you show up, I think the other part of networking is, you know, as LinkedIn says, relationships matter. Relationships matter. And when you meet someone, you know, follow up. One of the things I've noticed that a lot of individuals don't do is that we don't follow up. When someone gives you their card, they extend themselves to you, follow up. And I loved what Andrew had to say just in the mentorship session just now. You know, don't just wait for the mentor to reach to you. You know what you want out of this relationship. You reach out and continue to reach out. In this world, you know, when you're dealing with busy people, their calendars are full. So don't worry about reaching out once, twice, 3 times. Just keep going, because at the end of the day, there's something that you want. Understand that the mentor is not necessarily ignoring you. They have a lot going on, as busy people do, but just continue to extend yourself and to reach out.
That is such a word of wisdom, because sometimes when we might reach out once and we don't get a response, we stop. But as you say, people are busy. And it is the persistent persons who reach out who will get a response. So, you know, I just have to quote you, you know what you want out of this relationship, reach for it, make sure that the next few months benefit you as much as possible. And I leave you with a final word, Nadine. What would you like to say to our group of mentees for this year?
You know, you being here is a bold step. They say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So you're here. I looked at the roster of mentors. It is a dynamic group of Black leaders that we're here to serve you and to work with you. Take the bull by the horn. They say, grab that brass ring, really grab that brass ring. Ask, you know, they say life will give you what you ask of it. Do not be afraid to ask, because you never know, you will get that yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nadine, for sharing your insights